Or do you have all the games pulled up on your this week?
I just have
Oh,
it
you haven't
written
written
down
down
like I normally do because I'm fucking prepared.
I've been working on this for past
Oh,
days.
okay.
I just kind of wing it.
Yeah, we know. What is this? Oh, that's the thing.
No, that's just there you go. That's good. I think that's out of the
Thing.
Yep.
Can't
There you go.
read it. But
That's all right. All right, welcome back to Between Downs. We're your hosts.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep, that's all we need.
We're the hosts.
You know us by now. You've seen the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And
We're in a different spot, but that's okay.
Yeah.
change things up too. He's wearing Miami this time.
Yep. I mean, mine's a mythical Miami creature. It's a good movie.
Well, show the people that don't know at home what.
Feel free to watch it. I mean, Einhorn is Finkel in this one, but I got Ray Finkel. I'd stand, but I'm old. So I got Ray Finkel. He missed the winning kick. The laces.
Unlike Jason Sanders.
Those laces were not in. All that Dan Marino's fault. Everybody knows that.
Oh yeah,
Uncle Dan.
Uncle Dan. Well, so for the Thursday night game, we got Jets Browns. Pretty one-sided matchup, I feel, at least from the offensive standpoint.
Yeah.
Flacco playing against his old team, who didn't want to re-sign him. You know, it's kind of their issue. Great defenses, though. We'll see who comes to play, but I think Cleveland's going to take it because they just want to lock in their playoff spot and call it a day.
Yeah, I'd have to go with that too. With Joe, they also didn't want to re-sign Joe. He also called them when Aaron Rodgers got hurt and was like, "Do you guys have any interest?" And they said no. So he kind of figured, they don't want to deal with him, so now they have to deal with him, but just from the other side. So I think Flacco turned Flacco loose. Let the old guy rumble.
And he's been having some big weeks. I mean, Cooper went for 257 last week.
265.
265 last week.
I know. Guess who played against him?
You did play.
Me too. Still fresh.
Yep.
I haven't had him and still lost.
Yeah,
Because
sorry,
of Brock
Adam.
Purdy.
So sorry, Adam. I thought you had it. You put your trust in Brock Purdy. He shit the bed. We'll talk more about that later
Yeah, in
on.
a little while. Yeah, I'm gonna go Cleveland too, though. I think Flacco just ride the arm of Flacco.
He wants that extra $75K for winning the game, So plus he gets in the playoffs, gets a little extra coin in his pocket. So I get it.
I mean, I want him to lose from Miami's standpoint, but I think they're gonna win.
Detroit, Dallas. Dallas coming off a loss versus Miami. Tough little heartbreak. Detroit locking up the division, first time since 1993. When it wasn't even called the NFC North. I think it was the NFC Central. I know they're still trying to fight for that number 1 seed, especially with San Fran losing. So I think they're going to play it pretty hard and close to the cuff. And I think their defense is coming back into form, and their O-line is just top-notch, and it's going to stop that Dallas rush. So I'm going to go with Detroit on this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow that too. Looking at it, I see that Detroit's a more motivated team at this moment than they were a couple of weeks ago when they were struggling a little bit. They got it back and turned around, and just in time for a good solid playoff run, getting into the playoffs. Dan Campbell's got them going in the right direction, and gets that effort up on the defensive side. You'll be able to shut the Cowboys down in that high-powered offense and Dak Prescott. So. Yeah, I think Detroit takes this one, but I think it's gonna be very close.
Yeah, I think it's hard to go against Dallas since it's in Dallas, and we all know their record
Very
at home.
true. Very good at home.
But I think all good things have to come to an end, and as much as it's hard to go to say Detroit's going to win, I think Detroit just pulls it out and wins this game. I think it's going to be pretty close, though.
Yeah, I would say probably shootout more than
in a defensive battle.
Defensive battle, yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Playing Dallas at home, even though it's not in Dallas, it's in Arlington, which bothers me, but that's a different story.
Different talk for a different day. Big matchup, probably matchup of the week in my eyes. Miami, Baltimore. Baltimore coming off just a shellacking of the supposed best team in the NFL. And then Miami, taking down, one of the other best teams in the NFL with Dallas. So Baltimore's defense is top notch. Lamar Jackson's playing MVP caliber football, as we all know. But so is Tua, and so is Tyreek. The killer for me though is Waddle being out. Most
Not ruled out
likely.
yet.
Not ruled out yet, but most likely, yeah. I mean, even if he tries to fight it, they know that he's going to be a hindrance. So Reek's going to have a big game. So is Moser, but that Baltimore rush defense is just solid. If Miami's defense can come to play, contain Lamar, and try to stop the big plays over the middle, to OBJ, then they could probably take it. But I think Baltimore is going to win it, lock up the number 1 seed, and just rest until the bye week's done in the playoffs.
Yeah, as of right now, there's not really a team playing better than Baltimore on both sides of the football. They did get outgained in yardage against the 49ers, but again, it is the 49ers, and they may not score points, but because of all the turnovers, but they still were able to get yards on them.
Well, plus the end, you're coming from behind, you're just slinging the rock all over, while Baltimore's just going to rush, take time clock off at the end. So I can't really say anything in being outgained in that regard. Not like how the Steelers are outgained every game, but yeah, I mean, like you said, they did let up points to the backup for San Fran, and they had backup O-line in there as well. But that defense is still strong enough to get it done, and that's why I think Baltimore definitely takes it still.
And a random shout out to Sam Darnold on that one. Yeah, because they were able to turn Brock Purdy over and create some turnovers. Some his fault, some not as well. It's something the Dolphins have been susceptible to, is turning the football over, and that's something that Tua is going to have to work on and have to really focus on this week. Facing that defense that wants the football. So I think that Baltimore is going to turn them over a few times and be able to lead the way with their defense and just cause a couple too many mistakes from Miami.
Well,
I mean, we could ask you, but I think what your answer will be.
And I'm just going based off past history. Even when Baltimore's been good in the past, Baltimore hasn't really been bad in a while. They've always been at the top. And I was trying to remember earlier, I think the last 2 times we played Baltimore and we had Tua, we won. Everybody remembers last year's game. Shootout, came back. Not saying that'll happen again this year.
Yeah.
Like the shootout, because I think our defense is playing better than it was last year. But that Baltimore offense is hard to contain. But it starts with Lamar because they have a lot of young wide receivers. They're missing their number 1 tight end.
They got Isaiah Likely.
They do have Likely. But it's like you said, I think it comes down to which defense steps up and stops the other's offense. I know we all predicted that San Fran's defense was going to step up, and they did okay. But it's hard when the other team gets 100 snaps on offense versus your 20 on your offense. So it's the defense gets tired, and I'm sure we've all played. You get a little pissed off on defense if you do your job and then the offense turns around and gives the ball right back to them.
Yeah,
and
I think whoever owns time of possession at the end is going to win this game, and I think Baltimore really knows how to grind it out a little bit more.
Well, I don't think there's going to be much rushing from either team because, this week we held Tony Pollard to under what everybody thought.
Yeah, so I think everybody else in the league. He's had 2 good games.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to shake anything for that. Don't wrong. Miami defense is playing great, playing tremendous down the stretch, but there's really no quarterback in the league like Lamar. I feel like you guys are going to have to be keeping him in the pocket, make him throw, and you're going to have to spy him, definitely, at least on 2nd and 3rd downs. So that's going to leave, someone on a one-on-one matchup, and OBJ's playing like old OBJ back in the day. And like I said, Isaiah Likely stepping up. Rashad Bateman's finally not dropping balls.
Zay Flowers
is just a maniac now. So you got a lot of people trying to cover, and when you got to worry about Lamar, someone's going to be left open one-on-one, and the difference this year than last year, he's making those throws. But like you said, time of possession is going to come in. Whoever defense steps up the most and is able to contain the other's quarterback, I think is going to win it.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, as much as it hates me, I have to go with Baltimore. on this one just because if Waddle's not there, it's just going to be Hill. Now, Hill can take a game over by himself. We know this.
Can.
But it's who's going to step up and take Waddle's spot. We have people who can do it, but just who's going to do it? So, but I hope they prove me wrong. This is one I'd gladly take an L in the column for projections, but
Yeah.
I got to go Baltimore, and I think it's going to come down to us versus Buffalo in the last week for the number one in the AFC East. I think that's just how the NFL wrote it.
Well, speaking about Buffalo, they're playing the Pats. Now New England coming off a win versus Denver.
And they won the first matchup.
Awful.
I
Just
know.
awful.
Yeah, and you know, Bill Belichick knows how to play the teams in his division because he's played them all the time, just like how he knows how to beat the Steelers because he just knows how to coach against them. That's just how he does. So I can't put anything past Bill. Plus, Zappy's playing good enough. Ramondre Stevenson just went on the IR, so Elliott's going to be the one in the backfield. He's pretty much going to be third, three down back the entire way.
They got Damian Harris, and he stepped up in a couple key possessions.
He's doing okay, and New England's
Yeah.
still got a top defense, but Buffalo's been playing great the last few games, and they're riding that high. And I really think they want to challenge Miami for the division. So I think it's going to be closer than what people think because of just how Bill knows how to coach against them. But I'm going to say the Bills, but closer than what people are probably projecting.
Sometimes when I shave and I go out, I like to tell girls at the bar that I'm Josh Allen. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Here, I think it's going to work, and I'm going to go with Buffalo.
I think New England's going to play spoiler again. I think
Okay.
they've done it well the past, like you said, they've won 2 in a row.
2 out of the last 3.
Yeah, 2 out of the last 3.
Bill's really, if Bill is out the door, is really fucking them when it comes to that, playoff spot or that draft position. Which, I could see him doing that too. If you feel like, hey, I'm out the door, guess what? I'm going to make you guys go all the way down to try to get something.
Yeah, I could see them playing spoiler though. I could see that being, just the nail in the coffin for Buffalo, and just or the thorn in the side, I should say. Their season's not technically over.
No,
but it's definitely a thorn in the side losing that one to New
Plus,
England.
Bill's a competitor, and he wants to win even if his job is basically done. So that's why I say it's going to be close. Atlanta Bears, Chicago coming off a win. Atlanta coming off a big win. Atlanta's right in the hunt for the NFC South. Bears pretty much done. Somehow they're still in playoff contention, but I really don't see it happening right now. I think it's just Justin Fields playing for his job to say, hey, you don't need to draft Caleb Williams or Drake May. You got me. Let's use it somewhere else. And those coaches are fighting too. But so is Atlanta. It's tough because Atlanta's defense is really good. Bears defense has been coming on of late. I'm going to roll with Chicago. Sorry, Edwin, but I'm going to roll with Chicago. I think Justin Fields is going to pull some magic, probably rush for like 75, 80 yards, scramble, get out of there. And just if the quarterback for Atlanta doesn't step up and they keep limiting Bijan's touches, which they didn't last week, which was smart, but they might do it again. So I think Bears are going to take it.
I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. This one was essentially the game that happened after the Little Giants and the Cowboys. I'm gonna go with the Falcons on this one. Shout out to Edwin.
The Bears.
That's all you have to say. Raiders at the Colts.
I was like, you motherfucker. You're going to say it, aren't you?
I thought about it. I did.
Raiders at the Colts. Raiders coming off a big win versus Kansas City. Antonio Pierce really, really wanting that coaching job, so he's still fighting for it. And like I said, they still have a shot for the division, They're second in it, beating out Denver just by a hair, even though they're both 7-8. Kansas City, so-so. So they still got something to fight for. So do the Colts. 3-way tie atop the AFC South. Jags, Colts, Texans, they're all fighting. Definitely going to be a dogfight here. I think it comes down to quarterback play. Is Aiden O'Connell going to be able to do it? Does Josh Jacobs come back? We'll see.
That's been a disappointment.
Yeah, I think Pittman is gonna be coming back. I think they might have said he had a little bit of issues
Yeah.
last week from the concussion, but I think Pittman comes back. Taylor's back now. I think, like I said, comes down to the quarterback's play. I think Colts are going to take it though.
I don't know how if you're the Raiders, you just got to win against the Chiefs, the perennial number one that's been in your division for a while now, and you're like, we're still not going to name Antonio Pierce the head coach. We're still going to put that interim tag on there. I think he does. I think he does get his team motivated enough to have the win this week, and get it one step closer to maybe even dethroning the Chiefs if the Chiefs can somehow falter, and the Chiefs aren't really playing that great of football. So I see Vegas getting this one if Vegas has it written that way. That is.
I gotta go Colts. I mean, I think this past week, I mean, if you looked at the stats other than defense, you'd wonder how. I think Aiden O'Connell went 2.5 quarters without a completion.
He did 10 incompletes in a row, but it helps when you get 2 defensive touchdowns in 18 seconds.
No, 7 seconds. 7 seconds apart.
Yeah.
That's why that is nuts.
Well, it was a crazy little sequence there because you get the fumble recovery, then Carlson misses the extra point on a botched little snap. Well, actually, he could have kicked it. He was like, "No, I'm good." And
he didn't want to ruin his perfect streak on extra points.
And then the next thing you know, Mahomes throws a pick six. So yeah, I mean, luck can go either way, but you're not going to get that happen every week, and I just think the Colts are going to definitely just play good enough.
Tebow completed 2 passes in a game and still won it.
Yeah,
anything can happen.
Very true.
Tebow's got God on his head.
He does. Shout out, God. I hope you're watching.
Jags at Carolina, pretty basic here. The Jags really need this win. Like I said, they're pretty much getting a free one, getting to play Carolina right at the end, especially with these 2 teams tied.
They're playing bingo and they're filling in that free space.
They are. But, I mean, Carolina almost beat Green Bay if it wasn't for a time clock issue, which you could go either way with that. Personally, I got to blame Adam Thielen on that. You're a vet pro. You need to, as soon as you catch it, go down quick and not try to fight for that extra 1-2 yards because you're losing precious seconds. But that's neither here nor there. So, but do you think Bryce Young's coming into his own enough? And what's the deal with Trevor Lawrence? Is he hurt? Is he not? ETN had a very horrible game. Pretty much Jags just did bad all the way around. So, but I think they're going to correct it. Trevor Lawrence is going to play well enough versus this Carolina's defense, which is just garbage. And they're going to win. I'm going to say soundly, too. They're going to win decently.
I have given up on Jacksonville this year. I've had Trevor Lawrence on my fantasy team. I've also had Calvin Ridley on my fantasy team, because I watched that one video of practice where he ran real fast. And I was like, cool, draft. And, that was a mistake. I also drafted Trevor Lawrence. They're like, I'll get 2 points for when he throws to him, and he doesn't. So I'm going to go Carolina on this one because I've given up on Jacksonville just as a whole.
Carolina won the surprise, okay?
I think Jacksonville just fights for it. They need it. I think they dig deep.
I
don't think it's going to be a blowout win. I think Carolina fights them tooth and nail all the way and doesn't make it easy for them, but I think Jacksonville prevails.
Okay. Tennessee, Houston got a, divisional matchup. Tennessee's out, but, they definitely want to play spoiler to a division rival. C.J. Stroud is back. I think they're about to be fully healthy outside of the loss of Tank Dell.
Because Nico came back this past week.
This past week. They're pretty good. It's whether or not Will Levis is going to be in. Now, Tannehill did okay, last week. He's a vet. You expect it, to at least do something. But Will Levis gives that little bit of an edge, so I think it all depends on whether or not he comes back and if Derrick Henry can actually run like Derrick Henry. But I think Houston will take it. It will be close, maybe down to like a field goal from Fairbairn, but I think Houston's going to take it. C.J. Stroud's going to come back strong and probably just light up the field for probably 300-plus yards, 2 touchdowns.
I want to tell you, I want to go to a team that has the opportunity to win a championship. This is playoffs in the first year. Good call, DeAndre Hopkins. You're doing great. With that, I just don't see the fire and the desire to want to play in Tennessee. I'm hoping that they can turn that around, but Houston still has something to fight for, and I think that they're gonna be able to pull it out.
Yeah, I think Houston, with Stroud coming back, as long as he plays, I think their offensive firepower is just too much for Tennessee.
Yeah. Rams, Giants. Rams are playing great football. They're in the hunt. I think they're in the wild card now.
They're in the wild
They
card.
are in the wild card. So they're fighting for it. Giants.
They played good this past week.
Giants played okay. We all know what's going on with DeVito. We'll speak up on that later. And like I said, they really don't have anything to fight for except for jobs. I got to roll with the Rams. They're just playing. They're hot. They're a hot football team right now, and like I said, they want to get into the wild card, keep it.
I'll tell you what happened. They poisoned the pizza. He showed up. They poisoned it. They were like, "No, we're not having it anymore." I still believe in you, DeVito. I still will believe. You're probably not playing this week, though. They're probably going Tyrod Taylor, so I'm probably gonna have to go, with the Rams.
Yeah, they already announced Tyrod.
Stafford's looking good. He's looking good. Probably because he didn't have that pizza that you had. Because somebody check that pizza, see if it was poisoned or not. He went to pizza. Next thing you know, doesn't play. Doesn't play well. It doesn't play DeVito style football. We all know DeVito style football. So, Rams.
As much as I've always been a fan of Tyrod Taylor, I feel like he hasn't gotten the credit in the time he spent in the NFL, like the whole Chargers debacle. Somebody stabbed him in the lung and he loses his job because of that.
Well, his deal is he's just always something has come up. Either it's mainly his injuries, but also he doesn't do anything to wow you on the field, but he also doesn't do anything to help you lose the game.
I mean,
game manager.
Yeah, and
which is fine.
He plays well enough to where as long as everybody else is doing their job, you're going to win. He's not going to put you in a position where he's going to lose the game for you.
Yeah.
And he's not necessarily going to put you in a position to win the game either, but if the game plan's good, he can fit it for you. But I just, I think I got to go Stafford, though. I think Stafford, the veteran, he's hot. He's riding it in. He's been here before. He's riding that playoff. He wants to ride into the playoffs and get one more chance before he goes and stays home.
Well, and he's healthier than he's ever been.
He's healthier than he's ever been. Yeah, there was questions about that coming into the year, but somehow he's doing good.
Yeah.
Arizona, Philly. Arizona really got nothing going on. Philly is, fighting to keep the divisional lead and even trying to get into that number one overall seed. They had a bounce back win this past week. Pretty much going to cut and dry it. It's Philly.
It's hard to say because I keep wanting Philly to actually show up the way that Philly can every single week, and then I watch the game and I go, no, okay, not again. We're not doing this again.
It's like when somebody shows up with regular Oreos instead of double stuffed.
It's
still Oreos.
If you do that, just don't show up.
That's
if that's you as a person, on a side note, if that's you as a person that just shows up with regular Oreos, if you show up with Thins, then you deserve to be stabbed.
Yeah. If you eat Thins right now, you should just unsubscribe.
Yeah, if you eat Thins, you're the problem.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can't imagine why nobody wants to sit here and eat Thins with me. Can't imagine. We got lost. What game were we? Philadelphia.
There you go.
I see Arizona actually pulling this game out just because, Arizona beat Dallas earlier this year, so a lot of teams will go in underlooking them and just underlooking them. I know words.
Kyler Murray, they'll definitely.
They'll underlook Kyler Murray because he's short. He's shorter than the tripods we got here. But
thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's quality tripods. But yeah, I want to say an upset happens just because I think Philadelphia will just overlook going into Arizona or wherever the game's at. I'm not sure, but they'll overlook Arizona, and I think that'll cost them the game. Probably not, but I can hope.
Yeah, I think we'll pick spoiler on this one too. I think Arizona pulls it out one more time against that opponent who comes in there. Is it in Arizona or is it in Philly?
In Philly.
In Philly. I still think Arizona can come to town and Kyler Murray will put up a performance because I'm sure with it being in Philly, the weather's not going to be fantastic. So it's going to be one of those on the ground tough
pretty warm
games.
December, but yeah.
You gotta
Well-
worry about the fans too. They think
Yeah.
batteries
That's
at
true.
Santa Claus.
I mean, that's cool. You guys
But
took
I think-
Arizona.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna ride Kyler Murray.
That's fine. Thanks for the free win and standings. I appreciate it, guys.
You're welcome.
New Orleans, Tampa Bay got another divisional matchup. Got a fighting for the NFC South crown. So
The whole division's not much of a fight. It's like shooting
it's
fish in a
not
barrel.
much, but someone's got to win
Someone's
it,
gotta
like
win.
we always say. And right now, Tampa Bay is just playing good football. Baker's playing good football. I think they're going to actually re-sign him this year. So I got to roll Tampa Bay. It's at Tampa Bay, and again, they're still not. And New Orleans isn't utilizing Kamara as well as they should,
Or Taysom Hill.
or Taysom Hill. It seems to just be Chris Olave or bust, and Tampa Bay's got a good enough defense to kind of shut that down. And like I said, Baker's just playing really good football. So is Mike Evans. So is Rashad White. Godwin got in there making some moves. So yeah, Tampa Bay.
I'm gonna go the same here. Ride the Baker train. Just bake me some cookies because it's Baker time. I don't know if that's a saying, but we're gonna make it one. That's a thing. We're making this happen.
We do accept cookies, trust me.
Yes, this is our fetch. We're making it happen.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna ride Tampa Bay also. It's just New Orleans. They have all these weapons, but they don't use them. Like Taysom Hill, what was the stat last year? Like if he touched the ball more than like 3 times, they were like undefeated.
Yeah.
But if he got less than 3 touches in a game, they lost pretty much every single game. And yet they stick to that because this past week he touched the ball once. I think he had 1 carry. It's
Yeah.
like, use the man. He's there. Like I get you got Kamara, Chris Olave, and all this, but you have packages.
Well, even Kamara, he
just for
only
him.
rushed,
Yeah, it's-
60 yards for I think like 12, 13 carries and like 0 catches. It's like
Yeah, it's like
You
he's one of
know,
the top
what's-
receiving backs in the league, and you
I think that comes down to the head coach because Dennis Allen is more
Dennis
known
Allen.
for his defense. I don't really know who's the OC there, but they might be in time for some changes because that offense just is not running as well as.
and they need to bring in somebody big on the offensive side because they got the weapons on offense. They're a pretty stacked offense, but I got to go Tampa Bay as well because I think they're just right now. I think on paper they're even, but Tampa Bay's a better coach team at the moment, and
Yeah.
Baker's leading them. So
Better quarterback play,
Yeah.
for sure as well. This one's pretty easy. Niners, Washington. Granted, Niners
Kobe
had a
Brissett.
piss poor game, but
Yeah.
Niners are going to take it. They want to bounce back, especially after getting their asses whooped by Baltimore. And like I said, Washington, they just sat Hal for Brissett. We'll get back into that probably a little bit later on as well. Landslide. They're playing the worst defense for giving up points allowed. Niners landslide, probably win by. I'll roll with they'll win by 20 plus.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Let's go with that.
over under 20. Yeah, that's. I'd say it's gonna be right at 20. It's hard to go over under, so I probably go just over. But yeah, I think I go San Francisco as well. Jacoby Brissett. He's a statue in the pocket. He can play, but he's not. He doesn't move much, and that defense is gonna have
The
him
defense is
all over
just
the place.
trash, yeah.
Yep.
This one's a little now. When we saw this at the beginning of the year, Cincinnati Chiefs, we were thinking that's prime time matchup right there. Burrow's not there anymore.
Chiefs are playing crappy
Chiefs
football.
are playing bad. I think that still evens them out. Jake Browning's playing okay ball. He had a down game versus the Steelers, which I loved. But still, I think he threw for like 2 something, maybe a touchdown or 2. And like I said, Chiefs haven't been playing great ball. I still can't count the Chiefs out. You got Mahomes as your QB. You got the best tight end in the league. And you got one of the best head coaches, best offensive-minded head coaches. And the defense is still pretty good. Plus, I don't know what Jamar Chase's situation is, if he's going to play or not. If he does, what percentage of health is he really going to be at? Probably not 100. So I'm going to roll the Chiefs on this one, especially it's at home for the Chiefs as well.
Yeah.
Oh, the Chiefs just lost in Arrowhead to the Raiders. Also, my dad says that Mahomes plays feminine. Not real sure what that means. But that being said, I'm going to go with Bengals because, let's go Bungles.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati's defense doesn't get enough credit. They've been playing okay defense this year. And until Jake Browning really found his groove and started getting going, their defense is what held them in. So I think Cincinnati's going to come in there, and I think Kansas City's going to ride that lull still from that Oakland loss. And I mean, we can say even the games that they've won the past couple weeks, they haven't been playing good football.
Yeah.
Like even the Buffalo game, we talked about that a couple weeks ago.
But they had some injuries.
They did.
Pacheco.
I think McKinnon's still out. He might be back this week.
McKinnon, I think, still out, but they got Pacheco back.
Yeah, Pacheco's back.
Has been kind of filling that.
And it's weird saying for Kansas City that their backfield is better than their receiving core right now. Like, just wide receivers, not counting Travis Kelce as tight end. But if you're looking at just their wide receivers, the running backs are better than their receiver core. And it's almost like asinine to say that about Kansas City. But
yeah,
I say that Pacheco and McKinnon are playing better than any of the wide receivers they got.
I mean, you could throw in some trick plays too. I mean, Kelce threw his helmet on the sidelines, and I was
let him throw the ball.
I was sitting there watching. Oh, that's a pretty good arm right there. That was a good
high school quarterback.
Yeah, I mean that had a good like 10 feet worth of bounce. And
plus had that little hickey from Taylor.
Yeah,
we all saw that photo.
Solid stuff. You know, let him throw the ball around, see what happens.
Game I'm excited about: Pitt, Seattle, two teams still in the hunt for the playoffs. Somehow, Rudolph came in and did what we all thought and wanted him to do, and that was have a great game. First quarterback since Ben to have 250-plus passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Almost got to 300 yards. He was right there, but did enough to win the game. Pickens had a great game. He's finally happy because he's getting his touches and getting recognized, so maybe he'll start blocking more. And like I said, you got, in my eyes, Defensive Player of the Year, T.J. Watt on your side of the ball. The defense is well enough to, I think, handle Seattle. Kenneth Walker hasn't really been doing as great. The main worry is, of course, DK Metcalf, Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think Joe Porter is going to be able to hold Metcalf down for the most part. It's really coming down to that secondary. Minka, I'm not sure if he's in. I got to take a peek at that. But like I said, if we can hold them tight, stop the run, really force Geno to throw the ball, I believe we have a shot. And if Mason can just play 75% or 75% of how he did last week, I think we're going to win this, even though it's in Seattle. Pitt's going to win. Going to continue Mike Tomlin's streak of winning seasons, even though last week I said it was done. You know, they proved me wrong by putting Mason in and him doing work. I think they're going to get the win. It's going to be close like it always is. And it's going to come down to the defense probably making a big play. But Pittsburgh for the win.
We have a lot of love-hate relationships with our football teams on this show. Like, they suck. They're terrible. I'll see you at home. With that being said, Pittsburgh is finding their stride at the right time. I don't know if Rudolph was the necessary turn that they needed to make, but he has energized that offense back up, and Pickens had a historic day, pretty much, but overshadowed by the fact that Amari Cooper put up 51.5 fantasy points. Still salty. Still hurts. But I think that Pittsburgh is if they can just perform mediocrity. I don't think that's a word. I think I made up another word. We're just making up words here. It's okay.
That's what we do.
Yep. Webster, sponsor us so that we know words. That's all they need. With that defense playing the way that it is, if you do get Minka back on the defensive side, and you let Porter Jr. let him run with DK. You know, I mean, if he's not able to hold him down well, he'll have a good learning experience of how to, you know, face a number one big receiver like DK Metcalf. So I think Pittsburgh will be able to do enough in Seattle, even though it's in Seattle with that 12th man, to be able to take this game.
I got to go 12th man going into Seattle. It's tough to win in Seattle. Not impossible this year, but I think Geno and their defense is playing pretty good too. They don't get enough credit either. But I think Geno and Seattle on the 12th man, they pull it off. I don't think Rudolph has what it takes to go in there and win.
I hear it rains in Seattle.
Yeah, it does. This one, it's a little bit more interesting now. Chargers, Broncos. Russ getting benched. We're going to definitely talk more about that later on for sure. So we'll bypass that a little bit. With Stidham getting the start. Chargers, no one's really playing for anything. They're pretty much out. Coach is out. I don't really see anyone fighting for jobs there. They did play Buffalo pretty good like last week. So, I mean, they got some fight in them. And like I said, Denver still has playoff hopes. So they could maybe want to play spoiler. Um, I'm going to roll with Broncos just because that defense is still pretty good. And they're probably just going to lean on the run a little bit more. And the Chargers are just terrible in that regard.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to go Broncos. And we'll see how Stidham does. Maybe he gets the win.
I'm also going to swing in the direction of Denver. I think Stidham will get sacked a bunch just because of the pass rush that the Chargers do have, and Khalil Mack having a really good season. Not really a resurgent season because he was never bad. But I think he's going to stay. I think he's going to stand there a few too many times and get hit a couple of times and figure out. Be a second half game for him. I think the first half's not going to look too good for him, but I think they, with the Chargers, with Easton Stick, that doesn't even sound like a person. That sounds like a brand of baseball bat.
Or lacrosse stick.
Yeah, it could be. Mm-hmm. Not really sure. Lacrosse was fun. I played it for a day. But I think Denver does enough because that's. I don't think Easton Stick will be able to handle anything on that defense that defense throws at him.
Yeah, they got to go to Denver as well. It's shocking that they're pulling Russ, even though they still have playoff hopes.
I mean,
it makes
again,
no sense. But yeah, we'll get that later. But yeah, I think I still got to go with Denver. I mean, they got a run game still. The Chargers defense is just Swiss cheese. It's trash. I mean, so yeah, I got to go Denver.
Last game. Minnesota, Green Bay at Green Bay. Division rivals both still have playoff hopes and contentions. Loser of this is done. They can pack it up for the rest of the year. I think Minnesota, Nate Mullins, he's thrown for 3 straight 300-plus yards games. Jefferson's back in and fully healthy. Addison, he did get hurt last week. We'll see what happens there. Just lost Hawkinson for the year with the ACL, MCL. So little things are up in the air. Plus, we don't know how the run game's going to be. But Green Bay is just suspended Jair Alexander, your Pro Bowl corner, for literally this game. Blows my mind. We'll talk more about that too. So I'm going to roll with Minnesota just because the offense is playing really great. And plus, they still got decent defense. Danielle Hunter and Harrison Smith in the secondary. I think it's enough to disrupt Jordan Love and Aaron Jones on the offensive side. So I'm going to say Minnesota wins it. They keep the playoff hopes alive. Green Bay goes home packing and call it for the year.
I hope that every member of the Minnesota Vikings team, organization, all the way up to the GM, I hope they all crap their pants at the exact same time during the game. That being said, that's going to cause them to lose this game. Because I'm picking the Packers.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I got.
I think I'm going to ride with Minnesota. I think, like you said, Nick Mullins has been hot. I didn't see it coming. I just thought he was going to, just be enough to get their minds off Dobbs. But he's been playing well. That offense is clicking right now with him. And I think the defense is just enough to hold Green Bay. But like you said, on the other side, I don't think Green Bay's defense can hold Minnesota, so I think the Vikings pull it off, but I think it's close. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game either.
Divisional game definitely going to be close.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like if I had to guess, I would probably say like a 24-27, something along those lines.
Yeah, I'd say between 3 or 4 points for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and again, no Monday night game, so that's going to be interesting. So yeah, I mean, other than that, I think we got some great matchups this week. A couple games I'm definitely excited about. A couple games I'm just not going to probably bother watching.
Glad they're not televised.
Or I'll look at the highlights. But yeah, so probably take a break right now. And got a special guest coming on later on. Get into that later. And so we'll be back in a little bit with Between Downs.
Yep.